Evening, family. Come on now, talk back to me a little bit louder than that. Let's set the atmosphere tonight. We have an exciting conversation in store for you, but we need energy from the crowd as well. Good evening, family. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. My name is Pastor Michael Young, and this very dapper young man that's sitting next to me is Pastor Richard Aaron Jones. He happens to be the executive pastor, and on behalf of City of Grace, we want to collectively welcome you to our community conversation tonight as we continue Public Safety Week. We are honored to host this very, very important discussion with three phenomenal individuals that are major contributors to our community. This dialogue tonight is the conversion of faith, the conversion of community, and partnership as we're coming together.
Tonight is about building trust, sharing resources. Check, 1, 2. Tonight is about building trust, sharing resources, and uplifting the voices of our young people. We know that safer neighborhoods are built when we listen to one another, we learn from each other, and we work together.
Family, we want you to enjoy this conversation tonight. Please be actively engaged through your listening, and I believe there's going to be a Q&A opportunity as well. Also, I just want to draw your attention to the foyer. There are resource tables in the foyer. There are individuals that are representing not just the city of Columbus, but different entities throughout our community that really are here to be a blessing to the community. So at this time, family, I want you to sit back and enjoy our program tonight.
I want to introduce some important young people from our congregation. They're going to introduce our panelists of tonight. We have my daughter, Mariah Jones.
Let's go, Mariah.
All right. And we have the beautiful Teray Moore. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mariah Jones.
And my name is Teray Moore.
And we have the honor of introducing tonight's panelists. Each of them has made an incredible impact on our city, especially when it comes to safety, justice, and opportunities for young people.
Council Member Emmanuel V. Remy. Councilor Member Remy represents District 4 neighborhoods like Northland and Linden. Since joining council in 2018, he has chaired the Public Safety Committee and has been a strong advocate for neighborhood redevelopment, violence prevention, and bringing vital safety resources like smoke detectors, gun locks, and youth programs directly into our communities.
First Assistant Chief LaShawna Potts, sworn in here in 2021, she has been protecting our city with dedication and vision. LaShawna Potts is a history maker as the first African-American woman to serve as the First Assistant Chief for the division. She made history alongside Chief Elaine Bryant, the first Black woman to be appointed Chief of Police in Columbus. Assistant Chief Potts leads with a focus on community trust, youth engagement, and building a diverse future for policing in our city.
Franklin County Prosecutor Shayla D. Favor, elected in 2024. She is the first Black woman to ever hold this position. She has made youth violence prevention, diversion programs, and fairness in this justice system central to her leadership. Before becoming prosecutor, she has served on Columbus City Council, where she championed housing reinforcement, community reinvestment, and gun safety initiatives.
Please join us in welcoming tonight's panelists, Councilmember Remy, First Assistant Chief Potts, and Prosecutor Favor.
Y'all excuse me.
And ladies and gentlemen, can we give it up for these two lovely young ladies?
Hey. I'm so proud, man. I almost cried up here, man.
Yeah, listen, we're not here to talk about this tonight, but she's a much better student than her father was. All right. Awesome. Councilman Remy, we're going to kick it off with you tonight. Obviously, there is an emphasis based upon the initiative of Public Safety Week focused on our young people. And as the chair of the Public Safety Committee, you've helped lead efforts to bring resources like smoke detectors, gun locks, and youth programs directly into neighborhoods here in the city of Columbus. How do you see these initiatives shaping safer futures for the young people of Columbus?
Well, we started this initiative, and this is the third annual Public Safety Week. We started at Milo Grogan to Linden, and it really revolves around a simple premise, and that is that Columbus isn't just about, the safety in Columbus isn't just about our law enforcement, it's about all of us. And it's working collectively, whether it's faith leaders, whether it's grandparents, parents, our youth, elected officials, prosecutors, all of us working collectively to make sure that we feel safe in the city of Columbus. And so really what this week's about is to highlight that and bring resources into the community. We were out and knocked on about 500 doors after service on Sunday, service right here. This is actually in District 4 too, so this is my district right here, right around Allegheny. But we were able to knock on doors, and it's surprising the number of people that don't have a fire extinguisher. That we were putting up brand new smoke detectors because they don't have them. And so we know there's a large portion of our community that don't have the resources they need to be safe. And so this is what we're trying to promote this week, and certainly we're excited that we as a city have been collectively contributing about $20 million a year for youth programming. So that's important.
Can you repeat that for us, Councilman?
Yeah, over $20 million a year for the last several years. Thank you. Because we know we have to engage our youth. It's too easy to get involved in crime. It's too easy to take the wrong turn. And so what are we doing to keep them engaged and keep them focused on doing good in our community? And tonight, what I hope we do is lift up our youth and try to encourage them to be leaders in the community. Try to encourage them to, say no if somebody wants to go down a bad path of stealing guns or stealing cars, et cetera. We all have a responsibility in our community to reach out to our youth, tell them that we care about them, we love them, and that we're looking out for them. And so that's what we hope to highlight here this evening.
In our communities, especially with the youth, there has been, some sort of not so good things and trust factors. And many young people, they are curious about how law enforcement leaders build stronger relationships with the community. And can you share how the CPD is working to strengthen the trust and expand opportunities for our young people?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I do is you have to lead with genuineness, right? Our young people have to know that we are authentic in our message. And I think Chief Bryan and I, over the last 4 years, have been intentional with our touches. There's nowhere you can go in a community that you don't see me or her and our team. And it starts from the top. It started from her message of making sure that priority in our youth was a priority for her, but not just for her, for everybody that wears this uniform. We also were intentional in creating programming with our Public Safety Corps, with our TAPS program, expanding that to another school this year, to increasing, hopefully, state legislation coming this year where we're in all schools where our students can get college credit or school credit, but also just creating programming that we've never seen before, having a car show where our youth can engage with our officers out of uniform, being present at barbecues, just everywhere that we can touch them, we're being intentional. And I think it's shown in a way that our youth have responded to our police officers.
And one of the things I'll commend you for, First Assistant Chief, is the first time I met you, I didn't meet you at a program like this. I didn't meet you in some formalized setting. I met you at Easton Town Center, and you were just being immersed and being a part of our community. So I think that is an important thing. All too often we've talked about the fact that many individuals who wear the uniform don't necessarily reside in the communities that they find themselves policing. So we do commend you for that.
Thank you. I wanted to add, I think we have officers that have tables. So we have our community liaison officers here who plays a big role in the community, but we also have our cadet program, which is huge. We've revamped that to increase our numbers. And one of the things that we want to see is we want to see more inner city kids because we know that they're the future of our police department. As we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, which I'm not afraid to talk about, we have to start pouring into our youth from this community.
So we're going a little off script here, but I think this is important dialogue because we have so many young people in the building, and they may have a desire or they may have a passion for some of the careers that are on stage, right? I mean, this is obviously what we want our young people to aspire to do and be, whether it be law enforcement, a council person, or our county prosecutor. Prosecutor Favors, you're a history maker. That was in the opening. That's part of what your bio is. You are the first black woman to sit in the role that you currently are operating in. Because of this historic leadership, how do you see your role ensuring fairness and opportunity for our young people in the criminal justice system?
Well, first, let me just say thank you for allowing me to be a part of this conversation. I'm excited to be back next to what was known as my work husband, Councilmember Remy, and so back better than ever. But the responsibility I carry on this role is never lost on me. I ran on a platform that was centered around addressing youth violence, and I remain deeply committed to that work. I want to be very clear that this is not just a youth issue, this is a community issue. Yes, real solutions demand all of us working together. Our coaches, our schools, our elected leaders, our business community, our courts, and most importantly, our parents and our guardians. It's only through collective effort that and through creativity, that we are going to be able to build on safety and opportunities that our young people absolutely deserve to have. The Prosecuting Attorney's Office holds a central role in shaping the justice system. With broad discretion comes power to drive meaningful reform on policy, practice, and priorities that ripple across our communities. And I take that responsibility very seriously. My goal is to create a system that is both accountable and equitable, one that holds young people responsible for their actions, but allows them to grow from them, have second chances, and create true opportunity to a pathway forward. We know the truth. I talk about this all the time. There are too many challenges that we face as a community, and our youth are funneled straight to the courthouse steps. If we are truly serious about change, we must tackle the root causes of crime. Every young person deserves to see a life beyond the narrow circumstances that surround them. So in my role, I am intentional, working alongside our courts, our city, our law enforcement partners, and community groups to find smarter and more equitable solutions. So that means improving fairness. That means reducing recidivism. And that means interrupting the cycle that brings the same young people back again and again to our systems. And the last thing I will add is that while I may be the first, it is incredibly important that I will not be the last. And I have said, even when I was a council member, that if you do not have the courage to sit in these seats, to say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done, then you do not deserve the opportunity to do this work. And so it is my honor to do this work alongside some of the most committed public servants that are part of the Columbus Division of Police, that are a part of our other elected offices like Councilmember Remy, who are truly, truly committed to improving our communities and specifically working to address youth violence. Thank you.
This question is going to be for anyone on the panel. Many times our youth in the community, they look at these leadership roles as if they're not obtainable. And sometimes we don't know the resilience, we don't know the consistency and the persistence that go along with what you did behind the scenes. So if you could just speak to our young people and let them know or give them some advice of what they can do to accomplish if they want to be a leader in the schools, neighborhoods, or even in public services.
I'll kick it off. So you can't be what you've never seen before. It's really hard to do that. And so that's why it is important that if you're going to be a public servant, that you're going to be in community and that you make yourself accessible to the community that helped get you to the place that you're at. And so that means that we are at events like here tonight, that we are in schools, unsolicited, working hand in hand with our parents, our guardians, our school teachers, our folks at our churches, those trusted folks that have deep connection to our young people every single day. We have to reduce the stigma that's associated with certain positions, knowing that a young person can look at me and say, if she did it, then I can do it. I'm from Dayton, 937, right down the street, right? I don't come from a background where folks were going to college and let alone getting higher degrees, right? I can talk to a young person and let them know we are exactly the same. And they need to be able to see that in us. They need to know that we care and that we are working to address their issues every single day. And then they can begin to see themselves in the seats. And that's why it's so important for the work that I'm doing right now, especially in this first year, because we have to begin to talk about the way that we talk about public safety, that it cannot just be lock them up and things are going to change, that we have to talk about real solutions that are going to invest in their future and address once again the root causes. And so they begin to see themselves as a police officer that is not just patrolling from a car, but that is walking the streets. Right? That knows the neighbors, that knows the community. And that, I believe, is what real policing and what real law enforcement can begin to look like.
So I came from the neighborhood. I was a leader in Northland. I started as the president of my civic association. And then I went to Northland Community Council, and I was president of Northland Community Council. So I was advocating for neighborhoods. I was advocating for residents, and that brought me here. But one of the things that keeps me here and what fuels me and keeps me excited about this role is all the work that I get to do in the community. And that's popping in at We Are Linden's block party to Ralph Carter's out there somewhere. And just events. I mean, every weekend there's 4 or 5 events. I'm just popping in, not invited, but I need people to see me, and I need them to see, that I'm out there and ready to listen. And people come up to you and they share their stories. They should get their trash picked up. The lights should get fixed. The potholes should get fixed. But sometimes the system doesn't work. So they need people like us to push. And so that's, one of the reasons that we're there is to advocate for people that aren't getting the things done through the typical bureaucracy. But it is a very rewarding position to sit up here, to sit around a table, with my former colleague, now the prosecutor, to sit down and really strategize what we're going to do with our youth, how we're going to help them so we aren't just seeing them locked up, because that is not the solution. It hasn't been the solution, and if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you are not going to see results. And so it's just a pleasure to have such a dear friend in a position that she can make real change, me be in a position that we can make real change here in the city of Columbus, and working hand in hand with the leadership over here with our division of police. The changes that have occurred in the last 4 years are historic. Yes. If you would have asked me in 2020 what it would take to change this division of police, where you saw no diversity at the top, if you would have asked me, I would have said to you, if we're lucky, we'll see some substantive change within the next decade. And I'm going to tell you that we've seen it in just a few short years. And that's just because, and morale is at the highest it's been in I don't know how long, well, amongst all of our officers. And I don't know how that could have happened without some sincere leadership that is really focused on getting to know our community and asking our officers to get back in touch with the community. And I think you see that happening every single day.
Thank you. What I would say to young people is what someone said to me. I grew up in the inner city, West 7 Mile, Detroit, Michigan, in the heart of gang territory. Got pregnant in high school. I was supposed to be a statistic. Everybody told me when you got pregnant in high school, you're not going to be able to go to college, and you would be what my mother was, which was raising us on welfare. And my mother told me something. And I remember her saying that your zip code does not determine who you become. And so my mom pulled herself up by her bootstrings. My mother ended up joining the police department, and I watched her feverishly pour into the community in which she served. And so I knew early on that I wanted to follow in my mother's legacy. And I wanted people to see not this badge, but the person behind the badge. And so for any young people who are wondering what it takes to be leaders, it's not taught. You have it. You are born with it. And so you have to pull whatever that inner thing in you that keeps you going day by day, because let me tell you, in these positions, it gets tough. It gets lonely, and sometimes you feel isolated because you may be the only person in the room affecting change. But don't stop pushing, because it takes a you to sit in this seat. And I will also say to you, don't let anybody limit your potential. Nobody. I don't care who it is, whether it's family, friends, society, media. You have what it takes. Had I looked at me as a teen mom on welfare, joined the police department at 18 years old, knowing that in many years that I would be sitting as the second in command of one of the largest agencies in the country, I wouldn't have believed it. But thank God I had a village who believed in me. And thank God that you have people in leadership roles like this who believe in you.
That's beautiful. You know, it's incredible because sometimes we see people in positions like county prosecutor, councilman, first assistant chief, executive pastor, and you don't realize that they're real people with real stories and real challenges that had to be overcome. So for our young people in the house tonight, the sky is the limit for you. Literally, you can be and do whatever it is that you want to be and do because God has already invested the gifts, the abilities, and the talents inside of you. And what I would challenge the room tonight to do is to be that village to help uplift our young people, to be that village to hold them accountable to the potential and the gifts that are inside of them. Be the carpooler. Right? Be the coach. Come on, somebody. Be the mentor. Take some time out of your busy schedule to invest back in these young people so they can unlock the gifts that are inside of them. Amen. All right, Councilman, remember, we're going to dive a little bit deeper because you mentioned something earlier, and we want to just go a little layer deeper in what you talked about. You talked about the fact for the last 3 years, the city of Columbus has invested $20 million into youth programming. What does that look like? What opportunities are there out there for our young people to get engaged in that they may not know was available to them?
These are programs like Ralph Carter's We Are Linden. These are programs like Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children, who just had their event on Saturday that was phenomenal. Over 2,500 people were at Champion Middle School that evening, and it was an incredible event for the community. But these are people that, like DJ, that Legacy Youth, you know, that has they're running sports. These are people like Gino Tucker, who has a lawn business and doing work, you know, throughout the community, teaching kids the value of having a job, getting paid, et cetera. These are a multitude of, you know, activities that we really want our kids to be engaged in, and we've spread it out not just over the summer, but throughout the year, because we we know that life doesn't stop when school starts. And so, we want people to have the opportunity to engage, be engaged, and find your passion. I think, Shayla was talking about coming from a community where not everybody goes to college, and I did as well, but, there's so many opportunities out there today. Our trades, if you want to use your hands, you want to build things, you want to be an electrician, you want to paint, you want to do whatever, there is enough work in this community to keep you employed until retirement. And those are living wages, good wages with retirement, with, these are things that you don't need college. You get trained on the job. And so those are opportunities that exist out there. We have our what's the Columbus Promise. Columbus Promise. We wanted to make sure that every kid that comes out of Columbus City Schools has the opportunity to go to school for free. And so that's something that council started. And so that is something, and now you see Columbus State and Ohio State partnering together to further that, making sure that you can have a college degree. So there are limitless opportunities. I always say we are resource rich in this community, but sometimes we don't do a great job connecting people to those resources. And so it's just a matter of making sure that we as electeds, our community engagement teams, our police officers, they do a lot of connecting with resources. Our firefighters, they do a lot of connecting of resources, because when they're in a home and they see things that are amiss, they oftentimes will say, can we have somebody reach out to you? Can we have somebody help you? And it's just a matter of making those connections. And so it's our responsibility to do that. But it's also, our community's responsibility to say, wait a second, there's got to be something out here that can help, because there generally is. And so we just need to find it, connect people, and make sure that they're getting the resources that they need.
Pastor Young, can I pull that thread a little bit more?
Please.
Because, I applaud the city's commitment to continuing to invest in our youth, as well as the county. I'm Team County now, so I had to shout Franklin County out as well. But this comment is directed towards our parents, our guardians, those members of our community that have potential opportunities to also join in partnership with this. Those are unprecedented numbers of investment that the city and county have made in our youth. But I would be remiss if I did not talk about the state of our state of governing right now, that we are seeing not just a pullback, but an elimination of a lot of grants, federal funding that would continue to support these critical programs at the levels that we have seen over the last few years. And so now more than ever, it is truly important for us to come together as a village, that if you've got an internship that you can provide to a young person, or perhaps you have a small business where someone can learn how to cut grass, anything to keep our young folks engaged and exposed to new opportunities. I do believe that it's going to take public, private, and all community partners to continue to raise our children.
And I would just chime in, because I think it is in the spirit of what Prosecutor Favors is talking about, is when you are going to that voting box and you're casting your vote, you need to cast your vote, whether it's on a federal level, a state level, or a local level. You need to cast your vote for people who actually care, right? They actually care about the community that they're serving, and they don't care about just their own political career, their own political agenda.
Many years I've worked with the at-risk youth in the community, and sometimes I look at those youth and say, sometimes they need a second chance. And I know we sitting up here and we have our ties and our suits on, but we needed a second chance. Now, I had the privilege of pastoring with Pastor Mike Young, and I know all the dirt that he did when he was young, right? I know all the dirt he did when he was young. I've done some dirt, and I found myself in the legal system. And I will never forget this moment. It was Judge Green. Judge Green, I sat there. I didn't have a lawyer. He looked at me, and I told him that I played football for the University of Akron, and I got myself into some trouble. And you know what? He said, young man, because you're doing what you're doing with your life, I'm going to give you a second chance. And I wonder, where would I be today if he never gave me a second chance? So at this time, I want to ask Prosecutor Favor, what are some of the innovative programs and approaches that your office is supporting that focus on prevention and second chances for our young people?
So before I answer that question, I just want to reiterate that everyone deserves a second, sometimes third, fourth chance. And young people hear that when we are saying that. None of us have gotten or achieved any level of success, and it has been a straight road. It has been windy. We have failed. We have had little success, have taken 20 steps back and 1 step forward. So please hear us when we are saying that we understand the things that you are trying to navigate in life, and that you have folks in community that see the real you, see the troubles, the obstacles that may be in front of you, and are working to try to mitigate those as much as possible. But we need you to be in partnership with us as well. But even with that being said, when I stepped into this role, it was really important for me to assess the office as it was currently operating and make changes that were in line with the vision that I put forward when I ran for this seat. And so in the restructure of the criminal division, I created this new division that's called the Strategic Prosecution Division. And within that division is a new unit that is called the Innovation Unit. That unit is tasked with being proactive in addressing crime, finding creative ways to support community, and more importantly, keeping you out of the justice system altogether. And so I'm really excited about that work that the Innovation Unit is already doing. If you were at the MOCC event this past Saturday, my team was there, and I think we had one of the best tables that were there. No shade, but shade there. Also, in that same line, we are very excited to say that we have been working once again in partnership with the courts to create a diversion program that is going to be focused on our juveniles that might find themselves before the courts. Again, knowing that folks deserve a second chance. We are seeing young people as young as 12 years old that are committing some of the most horrific crimes in our community. We can and have to do better, and hopefully this diversion program is going to be a tool that is going to assist those young folks. And then last but certainly not least, is that all solutions are not going to be courtroom solutions. That's just not how I operate or see the world. There has to be some community solutions. And so very soon you're going to hear an announcement that's going to be talking about a community task force that is going to be focused on youth violence. It's going to be asking partnership, once again, from the folks that are here up on the stage with me, but also people who are in community. If you're in schools or if you're youth leaders, anyone that is connected to our young people and care about bringing real solutions to the table. I am tired of working in silos. It's time for us to come together and bring real solutions to the table.
Beautiful. Family, we can have this conversation literally all night long, but what we're going to do, we're going to give maybe 30 to 60 seconds for each panelist to give closing remarks before we transition to the next portion of the program. And First Assistant Chief Potts, we'll start with you, ma'am.
Well, I just want to say thank you. I echo, thank you for having me. We've seen policing change in the last couple years, starting from 2020 into current, and community has spoken. And it is our job as community leaders in the police department to police in the way which the community expects. We can no longer police and how we expect to police, but we have to be intentional, and we have to hear you, we have to see you, and our touch has to be authentic and genuine. And I hope that you felt that the last 4 years that Chief Bryan and I have sat in our seats, and it has trickled down from the chief's level all the way down to the patrol officer, who you see are now getting out of their scout cars and knocking on doors and asking how can they help. That's because it's intentional and it's factual from us that that's what we expect of our police officers. And I will tell you, being from another city, we have one of the most dynamic group of officers here who want to serve. And so what I would tell you is when you see them, say hello to them. Our expectation is that they treat you with respect, integrity, empathy, and sympathy, and our expectation is you treat them the same. And so thank you for giving me this time. I hope that you feel our compassion and love for this community. And to the young people, we see you. I want to be very clear. We see you, we hear you, and we love you.
So tonight we've heard a lot of the challenges, but we also heard some great solutions. Our kids, they don't need more lectures, they need lifelines. And it's all of us that are responsible for giving that to them. I encourage you to check in on a young neighbor. Encourage a student. Ask them how they're doing. Tell them that you see them, you love them, because sometimes that outreach means all the difference in the world. And I know, like, I think about Sean Lutz, one of our officers that's in the Linden area, and I'll be out there with him, and you know, he's talking to these kids right and left. He said that one stole a car the other day, and he knows, and he gives them heck for it, but he treats them with respect. He doesn't look down on them or think that they're something less than they are. So I just want to say to our youth, you know, the reason we're here is because you're so important to our future. We are determined to make sure that you succeed. And we are working every single day to make sure you have opportunities, you have the realities that exist, that are presented to you, and you understand them. We want to make sure that we're your support system, we're your lifeline. And so never hesitate to reach out. Never hesitate to reach out to an officer, reach out to an elected, reach out to the community people that you see. And, you know, when you go to these events, ask those mothers that are in the orange shirts at one of their events, how can I get involved? How can I help? And likewise, we ask that all of you do the same back to our youth. So I want to thank Pastor Young and Pastor Rick for, you know, your hosting this week. It's been incredible. I want to thank both, I almost called you council member. I'm sorry, Madam Prosecutor, but I want to thank you for joining, First Assistant Chief Potts, our Chief Elaine Bryant, for all that she does to make sure that these types of activities can happen. The Youth Summit on Friday can happen. I want to thank my team. I got to say, if it weren't for Miss Kaylin Pittman, Nancy Pryor-Soley, and all of our community engagement people that helped to put this week on, we wouldn't be here today. I also would be very remiss if I didn't acknowledge my colleague, Lourdes Barrosa de Padilla, who's in the crowd and been a part of this conversation this evening. There she is, way in the back. A great representative on the east side. I tell you, we're excited to serve together. We're excited to be a part of this and to really help shape the future for our youth. So let's all work together and commit to lifting up our youth and making Columbus safer for everyone. I hope that you can come out on Thursday for our block party at Barnett from 4 to 7. There'll be lots of resources. There are going to be some animals there. There's a couple of camels going to be there, right? I think, yeah. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And so if you need any more information, go to publicsafetyweek.com. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We couldn't do all this without you.
So the last thing since I'm the last person, you know, the last week has been heavy, and I listened to NPR all day long, and they were talking about Nike changing its tagline from "Just Do It" to "Why Do It," and they're changing it because they are signaling that this current generation is one of the most anxious generations thus far. And, you know, we could probably pontificate why that might be. Perhaps access to so much fast-moving content and news could be a part of that. But nevertheless, it has changed this company, worldwide company, to change the tagline that we all know. And so what I would ask you is to start doing the work of uncovering your why. That I know why I am here, and while things that are happening both locally and nationally feel heavy, and sometimes you feel hopeless, that change may never come. This is the reminder that we all need. It's confirmation for me that this is worth fighting for, that you are worth fighting for, that our young people are worth fighting for, that this community and their future is worth fighting for. But that's my why. And that's why I'm doing it. And so I would encourage everyone in the audience, both young and old, to identify their why and fight for that.
And I think that was a perfect segue. We got our young people from Our Brothers Keepers coming in who've been out cutting the grass for our elderly neighbors and using some of the funds from the city and the county to uplift our community. Well, family, I know they gave their closing remarks, but they're still going to be here. You're going to get a chance to engage with them potentially at the end of the program, but we actually have some more programming left for you. And at this time, we have a presentation from our Office of Violence Prevention. And at this time, it gives me great privilege and pleasure to call to the stage Director Rena Shank from the Office of Violence Prevention. Can we put our hands together for her?
Hello, everyone. Is this thing on? Here we go. Okay. So first, I'm going to apologize to our panelists because I'm a walker. So I'm going to walk on this stage, and I don't mean to stand in front of you. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, Councilmember Remy and team, for asking me to come talk a little bit to you tonight about the Office of Violence Prevention, what we do, and then a little bit of a facilitated activity that we have planned for everybody in the audience tonight. I want to thank City of Grace for hosting us. Thank you to the panelists. It's a privilege to work beside you all in this work every single day. And really thank you to all of you who are here, especially the youth. Like, I know I didn't want to be sitting in a room when I was young, listening to a bunch of adults talk to me about stuff. And so all the credit in the world goes to all of you for being here to learn, to listen, and to really help us up here shape the work that we're doing to help the community. So, like Pastor said, my name is Rena Shank. I am the director of the Office of Violence Prevention. I feel so honored to be in this position. I know many of you in this room. Behind me are pictures of my team. We have grown a ton over the last year. We started with 1 person, then we grew to 8, and then we went to 25, which we have now. This is just a growth in the last year. Not only am I proud to be in this position because of the amazing people that are on this team, but this work is deep for me. And this work is deep for every person that you see in these pictures behind you. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about me is that I was a public defender here in Franklin County for a little over 10 years before taking this role. I have dealt with thousands of criminal cases, ranging from the lowest of misdemeanors up to aggravated murder cases. And in doing that work, every time I had a case, I had a conversation with my clients, whether that was in the prisons, the jails, in court. I always wanted to talk about why. Why are we here? It didn't matter if it was a traffic case. It didn't matter if it was a murder case, right? What I learned, and I think everybody in this room knows, is that there are no bad people. There are very few bad people, right? People make bad decisions because things happen to us. And everybody in this room, including myself, is just one decision away or one bad thing happening to them away from being in a position to potentially make those bad decisions. And so over the course of the 10 to 12 years I worked on wrongful conviction cases and all that stuff, learning and hearing from the stories of my clients that I was advocating for every day, I just kept thinking about there's got to be more that we can do in this system. There's got to be more to help people address the reasons why they're showing up at my desk in front of the court system. Because those are the reasons why people are here. Those are the reasons why people are making the decisions they're making. And so that, coupled with the fact that I come from a family who is not from this country, so I'm the first generation in my family to be born in this country, shaped my love for community. because my family very much so relied on community and relied on resources like the things that we have outside for you in order for me to be here today. So Prosecutor Favor, when you talked about that little girl looking at people in positions like you and AC Potts, I thank you all because that was me as a youth. And so it is so important for us collectively to be taking on this work. And so for those reasons, I just want to make it known that I've cried in front of my team before, but I'm so proud of the work that this office does, and I'm really excited to share a little bit about it with you tonight. Mayor Ginther in 2022 declared gun violence a public health crisis. And so what he did was he talked to Columbus Public Health and said, help me figure out a creative way to deal with this. What do you recommend? And so after months and months and months, they came back with, we need to create an Office of Violence Prevention. It was a new movement across the country. You guys are leaving me? So it was a new movement across the country. At the time, 2 years ago, when the mayor came to me and asked me to help shape this office, there were only like 20 across the country. Now there's over 100. And what these offices do is take information from the community, spend time with the community, talking about what the community needs to help what I just talked about. So our first year, we made sure that we were spending time in the community. Every single day, my team, and at that time, there was probably, 4 of us, right? Every day we were in the community talking about what this work needed to look like for the city. Because our work can't be for the city if it's not of the city, right? And so that to us is paramount. Above all else, what we do needs to be based in data. And data isn't just numbers. We work in that too. But data is stories. Data is experiences. Data is feedback from our community on what you all want to see us doing. And so this slide you see behind you is what we have broken our work down and our promise to the community from 2025 through 2030. We have 3 pillars. And in those pillars is exactly all the work that our office is going to undertake over the course of the next 5 years. Now, we have these conversations a lot. I see a ton of our colleagues in the room. And we talk a lot about violence prevention, violence intervention, violence reduction. Everything seems to fall under prevention now. So I want to talk a little bit about what that means, because our name is Office of Violence Prevention, but that's not all we do. So what we know, again, we do everything data-driven. We make sure we're following national standards when it comes to fighting violence and reducing violence in our city. What we know is that in addition to enforcement, right, because our work doesn't take the place of enforcement, our work complements enforcement. We're the community side. And so what we know is that you have to have in a city things that address all 3 of these. You need violence prevention, you need violence intervention, and you need community transformation. And those things are they're not interchangeable, which a lot of us don't understand. So when you hear the term violence prevention, it might not actually be prevention. And so I think this is so important because in this room, I can see I can count on my hands how many partners I see in this room that are doing work in every one of these. And if we don't have people doing the work in all 3 of these areas, we're not reducing violence in our city, point blank. Okay? So when we're looking at what violence prevention is, if you're doing violence prevention activities like mentoring high-risk youth, doing, CBT workshops for youth, conflict resolution and skill building, mentorship, summer programming, that's prevention. And what we know is that those investments that the council member talked about, in 5 to 10 years, those investments alone will have a return in reducing violence. But we don't want to wait 5 to 10 years, right? And so coupled with those prevention activities has to be intervention, which is that middle tier right there. So that's 1 to 3 years. We know that by steadily investing into violence intervention, things like Columbus Violence Reduction, where we're working with Columbus Police, we're working with the probation department to really focus on those individuals that are at the highest risk of being shooters themselves or being shot, so engaging in gun violence. In 1 to 3 years, if we're doing it right, we reduce violence. And I think this city has really seen the benefits of all the work that the people in this room are doing in these fields. So then you have community transformation. That's things like addressing those social determinants of health that I talked about. So talking about policies that make our communities healthier, talking about financial wellness, talking about economic development, talking about how to make our neighborhoods cleaner, better for people who are living there, making our apartments safer. All of those things is what we put under community transformation. But if you look there, that takes 15 to 20 years for those effects to reduce violence. And so as a community, when we're having these conversations about prevention and we're putting all this money everywhere, it's part of our job in the Office of Violence Prevention to help collaborate and to help advise on where our investments for the city are going so that we know that we're engaging in all three of these. Because without all three of these tiers, not just on government, right, but that includes our CBOs, our nonprofits. If we're not doing work on all three of these tiers, we're not reducing violence. We're just not. At least not at the rates that we want to see for the sustainable period that we want to see. We want to see it going down for 15 to 20 years and beyond. We want this to be a trend that transcends all of us in this room. And so to do that, our office is taking very seriously making sure that we're collaborating so that we're hitting all three of those. Right here, as you see, this is just a brief look at the work that our office is undertaking now. Like I said, we're a small office. We have 25 people right now. We hope to continue to grow. But we're not just intervention. You see, we do have an intervention arm, right? We work with, we have Columbus Violence Reduction, but we also work with C&D, who I see here tonight. We work with, give them a round of applause, guys, because they do great work. We work with Columbus Urban League and the Lights, so if they're here, give them a round of applause as well. But you see those here in those violence intervention contracts. They are pivotal in helping us in those intervention realms. We can't do this work as a city without those things that you see there. But then we have our community impact and outreach. So we have a staff member that's in charge of domestic violence and victim services. We have prevention and education for our school-age youth, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. We have neighborhood outreach. We have violence prevention and education, because again, all of those tiers are important to be working together, or else we're not doing what we need to be doing. And then we have the boring stuff, right? We have policy, we have the data and research, but all that stuff is crucial, because if we're not making decisions based on data, based on best practices, we're not making the best decisions for this city. And so we have to take all of this work in combination, and I give all the credit in the world to my team, because they're kicking butt every single day doing this work, and we hope to continue expanding. So give them a round of applause. I did not make this graphic, so I can't take credit for it. But this just shows that we cannot do this work alone. So this right here is what a city's comprehensive violence reduction ecosystem needs to look like in order for us to be a healthy city that is reducing violence over generations. Now, our office last year took a really deep dive along with the National Institute for Criminal Justice Reform to make sure that we were identifying the partners that the city either runs internally or funds to do this work, to make sure that we were building this out for the city of Columbus. I have that report out on the front table in OVP if any of you guys want to read it, but I think this is so important, because if you're a service provider here, or if you're doing the work in this space, try to find which wheel you sit in here, or which wheels. Now, what we found in doing this work is there are people who said, I'm in every single one of these wheels, but you're not. I'm not, right? My office isn't. And if we are, then our work that we're doing is a mile wide and an inch deep. And so that collaboration piece is so huge, because I might do one of these really well, but you might do the other one really well. And so how do we work together to make sure that all of it is being done really well? Because we all can't do all of this really well on our own. And if we try, and if we think we can, guess what? We're doing our city a disservice. We're not working for the people that we think we're working for. So that data and research piece is huge. Last year we released 3 different reports. This landscape analysis we have outside, and we also have a QR code that you can get any of these at. But that landscape analysis talks about all the groups that we worked with in that ecosystem development. This cost of gun violence we released last fall. How many people here knew that every time there's a homicide in the city of Columbus, taxpayers pay $2.1 million? Everyone. How many people in this room knew that every time there's a non-fatal shooting, the taxpayers of the city of Columbus pay $730,000? You know how many non-fatal shootings we had last year? Those numbers aren't just numbers, they're lives, they're souls. And so the work of our office is to take information like this and lobby to the state, lobby to the federal government, lobby to our partners about what that looks like if we take that money that we're investing after we've lost not just one person, but two, because somebody's on the other side of that, right? What that looks like if we invest in community so that we can stop it from happening in the first place. And then we have our third report that's not final yet. We have a summary of the first half, but we've worked with Dr. Chanel Jones, who a lot of you know, in helping us take a deep dive into what domestic violence looks like in our city over the course of the last few years. And so that full report should be out, I think, by the end of this year. But the data and research piece is huge because that's what all of our work has to be based off of. Now, this is the part that I'm really excited about. Can I ask a question, have people raise their hands? How many people here are trained to de-escalate a conflict safely? That's a good amount. How about our youth? It's a lot less. So what we found in that year that I talked about, that we talked to the community, was that people kept coming up to us when we said, what do you want to see from us? They kept saying, we want to get involved in violence prevention, violence reduction, but I don't know what to do when something happens. If my friends are fighting, I'm just going to either walk away or get involved because I don't want to put myself in there. And frankly, that's okay because it's not safe to do it sometimes, right? But what we kept getting from people is, how can you help us learn how to get involved in a safe way so that we're keeping our friends safe, our families safe, ourselves safe? And that theme kept coming up over and over and over again. And so when I go back to that data piece I talked about, right? It's not just numbers, but it's people, it's feedback. And so that's the feedback we kept getting, but the numbers tell the same story, that that's something that's needed in our city. Right now, as of Monday, 34 out of our 55 homicides are directly related to conflicts that couldn't be resolved. That's either arguments, that's domestic violence incidents. People are dying because we don't know how to resolve arguments. The numbers show it. Imagine if we could have stopped 34 out of 55 homicides so far, just by implementing conflict resolution or learning how to de-escalate and walk away. And so that's what this slide is about. Do I have Miss Siobhan Jones in the room? Come on up, Miss Jones. Come on up. Everybody give her a round of applause. This is Siobhan Jones. So Ms. Jones is our violence prevention and education coordinator. When we got all this data, she came to us and was like, we got to do something with this. So we worked with two PR firms, Saunders and Canvas PR firms, to come up with this incredible de-escalation toolkit for the community. We launched it last month. We have an entire toolkit available on our website. And Ms. Jones here is going to walk our youth through a de-escalation and conflict resolution activity in the other room. But this toolkit is available for anybody. It's free. We hold community conversations where Ms. Jones will come to your school, your faith institution, your youth group, whatever it is. Even if it's a running club, she'll go running. I mean, I can't volunteer you for that, but she seems like she runs, so I won't, but I'll cheer you on. But we have talked to probably almost 1,000 people so far out of all of our community conversations in the last few months about de-escalation and resolving conflict so that we're not losing more lives. That is particular with the youth. So she has a master's in teaching. in the art of teaching, and so she's really passionate about working with the youth on this stuff. So behind me, you can just see a little bit about what the toolkits include. They're geared towards kids ages 5 all the way up to 100 because everybody can learn something. They talk about healthy relationships, they talk about domestic violence, they talk about strategies on how to walk away, because walking away is the most powerful thing you can do. And so we're going to show a video here. Well, first of all, here's a QR code. Scan it if you want to go to our website if you have any questions, because I'm about to go to the next slide where we're going to show you a 2-minute video, and then we're going to dismiss the youth to go work with Ms. Jones. All right.
Hey, so I heard you was in the studio last night. Man, I was in there going crazy. But
It was that one look. That's all it took.
get out.
What's good, Reese? You good?
Yeah, I'm cool. You got something you want to say to my face?
We haven't spoken in months, but people kept egging on the situation and making it worse. You still salty over that lie, twin? Your girl wanted me to be like that.
Hey, bro, watch who you talking about, because I don't play like that.
Neither do I. But coming from where I come from, you gotta keep your blick on you. So I know he had his too, and we both had something to prove. Look, we could take it there, but I'ma chill. Cause the streets want us at each other. But I'm not even on that. We can't get nowhere in life if we ain't working together.
Yeah, I can respect that.
So we good?
Yeah, we good.
No one really wins and probably pulls the trigger.
All right, so at this time, I think, I'm gonna turn it over to Ms. Jones. She's gonna let us know what we're doing.
Okay, I know we are running short on time. Like Director said, my name is Siobhan Jones. If you're a young adult and you would like to be a part of a 5 to 10 minute breakout session, please join me where you had your food. I'm going to head over there right now.
And for the parents that are left in the room, our panelists are actually coming back up on stage. For the parents that are left in the room, our panelists are coming back up on stage. And this is going to be an opportunity for Q&A. So for anyone that is not a youth who is going to remain in the sanctuary, so we need all the youth to go across the hall to where we had dinner. And then for all the adults that are in the room, if you're a parent, if you represent an organization, if you're just a community member at large, we're going to do a Q&A with our panelists. And listen, they told me in the back room, ask them the hard questions. Yep. He can. Awesome. And we have a microphone here. And if you don't mind, fam, I don't want to inconvenience anybody, but if you don't mind moving up just a little bit so we can have an intimate conversation. We want to dive deep. I think everyone is here tonight because we're passionate about young people and we're passionate about our community. So let's have an honest and heartfelt conversation with our panelists tonight. It only takes one to break the ice. Oh, yes, ma'am. I guess I just need to have my glasses on, right? It only takes one.
Good evening. Yes, it's Miss Crystal. I'm back. Glad to be back in the city, but I wanted to speak just very quickly, and I do have a question, so bear with me. Had a great opportunity to be in a room last month where they were doing the first convening talking about gun violence and the impact that it has on strictly Black women and our young girls. And so one of the things that I discovered that was really alarming is that the rate of suicide by gun among young Black women ages 13 to 17 is 68% across the United States. So my question is, when we talk about gun violence, and this is going to be to Assistant Chief Potts, is does the City of Columbus Police Department still have the silent alarm, which was star 57, that was used back in the 80s and 90s, where a person like me, who is a survivor of domestic violence and who actually used that number, it acted as a silent alarm. Star 57 would be, instead of calling 911, you hit star 57, your information was already loaded into the database, and the police came immediately. Had been used for people who were in domestic violence situations where you had repeated history of where the police had been to your home in regards to physical abuse there. And so I've been asking that question for a little while, and so grateful to be here to ask it one more time. And if it isn't, can we please get that back in place, because it will save lives?
Thank you for that question. I can tell you we do not currently have a system like that. But I agree with you. Anything that we can do to lessen the time frame that an officer responds to a domestic violence situation is crucial. And we do understand that quite a few of our homicides this year, and not just this year, but last year, were domestic violence or domestic violence related. And so we do have a domestic violence issue in this country. And not just when people think of domestic violence, they think of intimate partners. We are seeing fathers kill sons, mothers kill daughters, brothers and sisters killing each other or shooting at each other. And so that real discussion has to, why is that happening? Why are we as a society now settling what would be sibling rivalry with gun violence? And so anything that we can look at to make it easier for our victims to become survivors, we need to look at that. And so I'll task, I think, Smith Hughes, are you here? Can you write that down as a reminder for me, and see what we can do to get that back up and running?
If I can also, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and so your question is incredibly timely. What I will also add to Assistant Chief Potts' remarks is that youth domestic violence is also up. And so we are seeing, again, I noted 12 earlier. That's because we are seeing them as young as 12 for DV cases as well as murder cases, right? And so this is incredibly alarming. We're seeing our young folks that are not only committing acts of violence against teachers that would be related to a DV type of a situation, but also when they are returning back in their home, there's this vicious cycle that is cycling over and over and over again. And so while the youth may be pulled out of the home for a moment or two, they're put right back into an environment that only facilitates the same violence that they have seen. And so I am incredibly grateful that you've raised awareness around Black women who have been struggling with DV, but I also want to raise the alarm that we need to talk about emotional regulation for all those in our community, and most certainly our young people.
I'll just add too to that we have the ability to text 911 now. And so I just want to make sure that everybody knows that as well. We may not have that number anymore, but understanding that you can't just pick up the phone in a lot of scenarios, you do have that text capability.
Awesome. Other questions? Please don't be shy.
She just said that if you triple click your phone, it'll call 911. Just so we are We are broadcasting, so when people don't talk with the mic, we can't. It's okay. I just want to make sure that we're making sure that this important information gets out there, because, there are people watching at home or will be rebroadcast, and we want to make sure people can understand what was being said in the room.
Sorry.
Real quickly, the reason, and many of you may not, and I may not have been very clear about the Star 57. The reason I'm mentioning this is because in my own personal experience, that triple click would have took my life. My brother ended up being stabbed an inch from his jugular. The reason Star 57 is so important is in most domestic violence situations, you don't have time to talk to anybody. Star 57 said, here's her address, y'all just need to come. Because we know, and I don't have, 911 is amazing, I love the technology that we have, but I'm telling you, sitting here today, that day when the police came to my residence, I passed them, the perpetrator was behind them with a knife, and they found my brother in a bathroom bleeding from the neck. And so the technology that we have is amazing, and that it's just a silent alarm. It's just like the bank. The bank don't have time to talk. So, that's why I wanted to reiterate that Star 57 is a lifesaver on anybody's phone.
I wanted to know about the curfews for the minors in Columbus. Curfew.
Yeah, talking about curfew. Well, there is one. It's not really something that is a high priority as far as, enforcing it. I think one of the things that we say is we really need parents to ask where their children are. I mean, I grew up in an era, and I think most of us did on the stage, the street lights came on, you better be home.
Oh, yeah. That's the way I was raised.
And so I think that, kids that we all too often see kids that are out at 1, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and it's like, where are the parents? How do they not know where their kids are? And I think that, it's important that we understand where our kids are. I think there's discussions we need to have with Columbus City Schools about truancy. In some schools, the bell rings, and 5 minutes later, a parent's getting a text or a call that their kid's not in school. But Columbus doesn't have that. And I think we need to be talking about, these are technological advances. My wife's been a teacher for 23 years in Columbus, and she talks about how people's phones change all the time, and it's hard to get a hold of parents. But even with that, I'm not sure that's an excuse that we should rest on, because we really need to know where our kids are, and that is during the school day and after it gets dark, especially.
And I will say this: we do enforce curfew, but just to be honest, it is extremely time-consuming when you. And let's be honest, the laws doesn't allow for us to hold them. So you have to wait for a parent, if you get a parent. And so I have to give Prosecutor Favor and the juvenile judges, we've been working on how do we do other things other than curfew violations, right? Because those are just quick and they right back out, quick and they right back out. And some of the things that we've been talking about is education. A lot of our parents, we take for granted that they know what parenting is. A lot of them themselves were not parented correctly. And so it's just generational after generational after generational, right? So we start having to meet people where they are. And sometimes that means holistically healing that family, because it's not just about curfew. Why is that child at 12 years old hanging out at 1 a.m.? Sometimes it's not because of bad parenting. It's because that's the only way they can get food for the night. Those are so many circumstances that lead our kids astray that we can't be in a society where we just locking them up, ticketing them. And sometimes ticketing a parent and locking a parent up is not the answer. Sometimes it's giving them resources, education, and then telling them as a community, we got you, but you got to do your part.
Thank you. I heard a lot of good statistics tonight and a lot of accountability as far as interventions, preventions. But the reality is Franklin County in Columbus, Ohio is number 3 in the United States of America for the most unsolved murders. And so I wanted to know, either Assistant Chief or Prosecutor Favors, what are we doing to combat that here? Because I would definitely like to play some type of role in my community to help bring awareness to the parents, to the families, that will be the same ones sitting down with the murderers, friends of the murderers, confusing what we call snitching, who should be responsible. And I would like to help get some vigilance with that, because number 3 in the United States, so we talking Chicago, California, all these people, and we ain't solving the murders.
I can start. I can tell you what we've done in the last 4 years. I can't go before we got here. One of the things that we saw was we had what we considered a cold case unit. And when you hear cold case, you would think that means that we forgot about that victim. And so what we were intentional with doing is we've beefed that unit up. And I can tell you just in the last year, we solved 26 of those old cases because those families still deserve justice.
That's right, yeah.
One of the other things I can tell you that we've done is we've embedded Mothers of Murder Columbus children in our homicide unit. And so you have mothers who have lost children to violence who now have that ear of sympathy, because I can say all day I understand, but guess what? I don't understand, but they do. And so they're intentional, they hold us accountable, and they come to the table with things that we can do better. These are some of the things that we know needed to change, and we're changing them. You know, it doesn't happen overnight. I'm going to make sure that because I don't know factually if we're number 3, because I know right now we're sitting in the top 3 in the country on our closures for homicides. So we've done something differently in the last 4 years that hasn't been done in Columbus. When we first got here, just to give you where we are, when we stepped foot in this seat, we were closing about 28% of our homicides. We're at 83% as it stands this year. And so that was in 4 years. Will we always get it right? No. Do every family deserve justice? Absolutely, which is why we're intentional in our touches. We're holding our detectives accountable. We're making sure that they follow up like they're supposed to. And if they don't, these moms can tell you how we are when we find out our detectives are not doing what they're supposed to do. So it starts with accountability, but it also starts with us putting a face to a number. That is why you don't see numbers like you used to. Because when you just put a number out there, oh, we're the 100th homicide, but you don't know that family behind that murder, then it makes it easier for you to forget about them. No, we want you to see their face. And we also want you to meet the moms. And that's the change that we're seeing. But I would love to speak to you afterwards. I am always looking for help and assistance and how we can be better in what we're doing. But I would tell you, I would start with talking to them ladies in the orange, because those are foot soldiers who are speaking on behalf of those whose cases are not closed.
I purposely haven't worked with their office yet. I do support them at a lot of their nonprofits. My son, Royce Gilbert, was murdered last year.
Yes.
And his murder also is unsolved. And I'm aware of what you all do and how y'all combat it. I'm looking for the accountability now to take it one step further. And I'm willing to put my life on the line about it, because my son was worth it.
Yes.
My 7 remaining grandchildren are worth it. And I'm now raising his daughter. And he was a single father, and his name and his legacy deserves to live on, and he's worth it.
Absolutely.
So if whatever capacity I could be at, whether it's knocking back on doors, forums, that's back where I'm at now until my last breath is gone. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
If I also may just extend my deepest condolences to the loss of your son. No mother should have to deal with one of the greatest losses that being a human you could ever experience. I say this to the women in the orange all the time, that they are doing work that is just incredibly unimaginable. Their pain has become their purpose. And so I, again, extend those, my deepest condolences that now you are using your pain to now be your purpose and to carry on in the honor of your son. I think it also has to be said that, and it's not everything, but that's why it's incredibly important to have intentional leaders at the top that can truly build relationships with community. Because mistrust is absolutely real, especially with the Black community, if we're going to be absolutely real in this meeting tonight. That why would anyone come and have an effective, what they believe to be an effective conversation with someone who is not going to take those claims seriously, that is not going to advocate and fight for justice on behalf of their loved one? What I know is that Chief Bryant and Assistant Chief Potts have done that work to begin to repair. I don't even know if it's repair, build an authentic relationship with members of our community, that we can talk about what snitching is and all of those things as well, but there is a level of confidence and sharing information, bringing information to CPD that I believe is unprecedented and is helping them achieve the results that they are achieving. You should know from my seat that my office stands ready to assist, provide legal guidance to the members of not just CPD, but all of our other law enforcement agencies that are included in Franklin County so that we can begin to bring those numbers down.
Good evening. And first of all, thank you, because everyone on this panel is amazing. Like, as I look in front of me, each individual on this stage really does the work. They really have the heart. These are people these are trusted members in positions that can really bless us. So first of all, thank you for that. My question is, I look around and I see a room full of educators, youth leaders, mentors, and human trafficking is something that is just not talked about enough. I think it's an ugly topic, and we hide from it because we just don't want to face the ugliness of what is actually happening in our county, in our state. So my question would be, what type of information can you share with individuals here today to help them recognize human trafficking, to help them know what to do if you suspect that someone or a youth is being trafficked, and what makes it their responsibility? You know, why should people speak out or care or even pay attention to what's going around to help offset human trafficking?
That is absolutely a great question, and a lot of folks don't know that Columbus, when we were talking about statistics, I think we might be the third, ranking the third in the country because we are proximity to the borders that surround Columbus. If you're familiar with the Arnold Sports Festival, that historically has been known, this is nothing to Mr. Schwarzenegger, but it just historically has been known as one of the premier events where we have seen incredibly high spikes of human trafficking in our community. So it's an incredibly important conversation that does not get the attention that it absolutely deserves. And so, and thinking about the fact that we have younger folks that are being trafficked in our community all across this county every single day. And so I think that number one, it starts with education. We have to commit ourselves, and we being the folks that do have a platform, but those in community, to speak more candidly about what human trafficking looks like, how one can fall victim to human trafficking, who it is targeted at, and who it generally may not be targeted at. We also need to talk about the advocacy that needs, I believe, to start going towards the State House and having stronger laws against those who are trafficking victims, the laws that are pertaining to John's prostitution every single day, right? And so there are diversion courts that are available to those who find themselves on the victim side of human trafficking, but we're talking about folks who have been exposed to drugs very early very early on, that are addicted, that are being manipulated by those who seek to cause them harm. And so this is a reminder to me to continue working with our partners county-wide to spread this message of human trafficking. I mentioned that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and in Franklin County, in the courthouse, there are these signs that are on the bathrooms that are both meant to inform folks about domestic violence and make folks aware if they are the victim of human trafficking or if they suspect it. And that those are the type of messaging, those type of campaign messages that we need to start seeing on a more regular basis. I don't know if Assistant Chief Potts, if you would add anything.
And we've had these conversations. I would say one of the things as parents that they need to do is you got to be in your social media for your kids. You have to be okay with being in their cell phones, their iPads. These predators are very, very cunning. So they're not the guys that roll up in a van and roll down the window and tell you they got a piece of candy and to get in anymore. These are people who go in our children's games on social media and get to know them and get all their information by just acting like they're their age. And so I would say just don't be afraid to parent. We have to get back to being parents. I'm sorry. My daughter's 29 years old, and I still regulate what she does, and she married. So you have to stay intentional, and we've talked about some of the things. And then in law enforcement, we just have to do a better job of telling you as community the great work that we're doing. I have to give Lakeisha, because she ain't gonna say it, but Lakeisha is an advocate for human trafficking. We've had many conversations. She's worked with our human trafficking task force. And so we need more of that, more of community speaking out, because we do understand. Let me tell you what's missing. Our black and brown kids are missing at a high rate, not just in this community, but across the country. And we have to put an emphasis. We can't just always say, well, they'll turn back up. Sometimes they're missing because somebody took them, and it's not because they ran away. And so we're intentional with our missing unit and how they can be better serving the community, looking at our cases and making sure that they're just not writing these kids off.
Yeah, thank you.
Family, there's a lot of questions that we can ask, and I think each individual up here will make their contact information available. They'll let you know how you can get in contact with them, or you can have a one-off conversation with them after the program. But they're ready to bring our youth back in, and I think some of the dialogue we don't want to have while our youth are here. So, my brother, I know you got a question, but if you can connect with them here in about 10 minutes, because I think they're prepared to bring the youth back in. Appreciate you. Can we give it up for the panel, family? We're grateful for our county prosecutor, our councilman, and our first assistant chief, and our director of offensive violence prevention. These are people who genuinely care about our community, have invested time, energy, effort, and resources to make our community stronger and to uplift our young people, and we're grateful for them. Coming? All righty. Are young people doing anything or no? Okay, cool. Are they coming back in? Oh, okay. So they kicking it while we sitting in here being a little stuffy. Well, family, it's been to me a powerful and purposeful night. It's been great dialogue, great conversation. You got to hear the heart posture of individuals who are sitting in different seats as it relates to the city of Columbus and how we can collectively partner and work together to uplift the next generation. With that, can we all collectively give it up for Councilman Emanuel Remy? He is really our convener tonight. He's the one that brought us all together to have this very important conversation. And with that, Councilman, we're going to pass it to you for some closing remarks.
Can I just say one thing? Can you turn it off just for 1 second? If you have not done so, in partnership with Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children, we launched Operation Under Triple Digits. If you have not signed up, please do. We are trending in a way that we have not seen in previous years, and I believe wholeheartedly that this community is going to get to under triple digits this year. And so we need all of you to do that.
Well, thank you all for coming tonight. I want to just see a show of hands. How many found this to be a valuable conversation? Thank you. We do this because we want to have these conversations, and it's not just 1 week out of the year. We need to be doing them all year long. And, you know, when we get together and talk about some of the issues that plague our city, some of the best ideas come out of those rooms. And we know, for instance, I can think of the last meeting we were talking about our youth, and one of the easy things we talked about was, how are we messaging to our youth? How are we messaging for the dollars that we give as a city, the 20 million plus a year? How are we asking our organizations that get that money to message to our youth? It doesn't have to be complicated. It needs to be a series of points that we consistently say, that I say as an elected official, we say as elected officials, our police say to our youth, our pastors say to our youth, our teachers say to our youth. We need to come together as a community with a consistent message that we're consistently talking to our youth about, one of respect and love and support, things along those lines. And so we're going to continue to work to develop that messaging, because I think it's important. You mentioned about the stuff that's happening at the state and the federal level. And I tell you what, I'm a very, very passionate local elected official. I serve on the board of the National League of Cities, which is elected officials from all across the country for villages, cities, and towns. And I tell you that what we do in Columbus is so special compared to so many other communities. But what we need to do with all the things that are happening at the national and the state level is we need to come together. We really need to come together as a city and a community, because everything above us is chaotic. It's been, we talk about like de-escalation and people, domestic violence among brothers and sisters and parents. We've spent the last decade with national leadership pitting one person against another, making enemies out of neighbors. And, I said one of the best things about what's going on in this era is at least we know where people stand in our community. And so, but that doesn't mean that we need to stop. And, I think, Pastor, you said it well this weekend. We got to look out for our neighbors. We have to look out for others in our community. And that's just something that's one of the basis of the Bible, what Jesus has taught us. So I just say this, that we need to work together, and we're so excited that you came out this evening. We want to make sure that you continue in our conversations, and we will continue having these types of things throughout the year. And we hope that you come out on Thursday for the block party, but certainly thank you for coming this evening. Thank you to the teams that put this together, and thank you, Pastor Young and Pastor Jones, for being here this evening.
Family, can we give it up for the City of Grace team? Because really all Pastor Rick and I did was sit up here on stage and talk. Uh-oh. Awesome. Uh-oh. I have broken ribs and I look like an old man right now. Awesome, family. I think that's it. Please, if there's food left, please get you another plate and enjoy it.